Hello everyone and welcome back to another Geoguessr video. Today we are doing a Geoguessr tier list. I'm going to be joined today with my good friend Toro, who is a Twitch streamer as well as a good Geoguessr player. So what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be creating a tier list of all the important items in Geoguessr that give you the tells that you need to be able to figure out where you are in the world. And we're going to section it off into different items and rank it based on importance, how relevant it is, how effective it is in getting it, how much it narrows down your location, whether it's continent, country, and how often it shows up, you know? So we're going to be putting all those into account and figuring out which is like the most important item in Geoguessr to help you get the place you want to be. So that's pretty much it. Enjoy the video. We'll start off with the first one, which is signs. This could be speed limit signs, directional signs, anything on the road, basically. And we're not really including language, just kind of like shape, color, the numbers, everything like that.
Colombian cross, speed limit, maximum.
Yeah.
Those are pretty helpful.
The Colombian cross is like the easiest way to get Colombia, so that's my go-to.
Black back of the sign in Brazil, that's helpful.
Exactly.
I'd go A tier.
Signs are also really common. Like you see signs pretty much everywhere on the road, so I think A tier is really good. Is there any reason why it wouldn't be S tier? Like there's a lot of these that I think like if you know it, like it's a giveaway basically, but I feel like what's a downfall with signs that wouldn't make it S tier? My only thing is like sometimes the signs like this European sign is kind of in a lot of different places, even though some have like minor differences. Like there's a lot of signs that are pretty much the same. That's kind of the only downfall, but I do like S tier. I do agree with that.
A tier.
Sorry, A tier.
Yeah.
All right, big old sun.
The sun.
I think every one of these, I just want to hear what you do first.
Do you trust the sun? That is the big question. And then when it's setting, it's less reliable, and you got to make sure the compass is right. So, and it really just gives you hemisphere, and it doesn't work in the tropics. I don't know. I'd say C probably. Maybe
That's
B.
What I was thinking C as well.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of like a last resort. You don't really need it unless you have to, and some of the times it just hurts you more than it helps you. It's like the first lesson of Geoguessr, like the first basic one, that if you're good enough, you don't really need it anymore. You kind of get the vibes anyways. It's only emergency situations. I think C is pretty good.
Glass in case of New Zealand, Ireland 50-50.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Big old bollies.
Bollards. I can't say I know them cold, but they definitely do help, especially with European countries where they're more common.
Yeah, the same kind of situation with signs is that there's some that are the same in certain countries. They don't tell you exactly like the country for a lot of the times. And they're also not in every country. And sometimes they're not super frequent. Like if you're in like a gravel or a dirt road, it's like you're not going to see a bollard.
Yep,
so
it's
I think
mainly highways and things like that.
Yeah, I agree. All right, A tier. People.
I agree. People.
We got race, clothing, amount of people, skin color.
Bolivian hat meta.
What they're doing. Bolivian hat meta. True.
Okay. Yeah.
Everything with people. Yeah, what's another like specific one with people? I guess like Senegal has like really colorful clothing. I think, in my opinion, I think this is probably B tier. You don't see people that often.
Yep, I would agree with B tier. And then European countries, a lot of people look the same. And
yeah, I think that I like the B tier. Language. The thing with language is that it's not everywhere. It's basically if you're fluent in every language, it is a dead giveaway. So it's like basically free. I guess I'm assuming that we all just kind of have a pretty good understanding. You don't need to be fluent, but you kind of have to have like the knowledge. Like for example, like Poland with like the dash and the L, or maybe like Strasse for like the Germany kind of thing. That's kind of like basic language is kind of like this item right here. And I feel like it's fairly common. It does give you like the dead giveaway, but it's not everywhere. If you're on like a dirt road, there's not a lot. I would say there's less language than there are bollards and signs. Right. Would you agree with that?
Well, when you're playing a moving game, you're always hunting for language.
True. I guess we're assuming that, yeah.
So yeah, I think language is pretty important. Turkish language is pretty distinct. Romanian looks pretty distinct, not because I recognize it, but just because I rule out every other language and What's left is always Romanian languages.
So what are you thinking?
I would say A, maybe
A?
S. I don't know. What do you
A
think?
or S? Okay, yeah, because I keep on thinking that I forgot you can move in Geoguessr. I played no moving for so long. But yeah,
Yep.
now that if you can move, and we're assuming that this is not like being fluent in languages. We're just assuming like the specific tells in each language. So if that's the case, if this was no moving, I would put language in A tier. But since, yeah, most of the time people like to move, language would be S tier. I like that.
Great.
License plates.
License plates in Europe, sometimes they're helpful with Portugal with the yellow stripe on the right. Italy has the short plates in the front, the double blue. And then in the US, they're OP. Getting the license plates, if you can
Okay.
recognize blurred US license plates,
True.
you're
If
going to
you're a
get a good
nerd
score.
and you get all those license plates, yeah, you own the United States. Asia's got some specific license plates. I know Australia. I know one of the license plates in Australia, the New South Wales one. I think it does a really good job of separating the continents really well. And I mean, you're on the road most of the time. You see a car most of the time. I think you see license plates maybe more than bollards. Yeah, you definitely see license plates definitely more than bollards, I would say.
Yep.
So I would say this is probably either low A or high B.
Really? I was thinking more S,
Really?
but we can settle on A.
I'm not a license plate aficionado. Okay, so if you say S and I'm like in low A area, let's go high A. I
Yep.
think high A works. I'm okay with that. I need to work on my license plates more. Trees and flowers / bushes, all that good stuff. I think this is like usually what I get called out for on TikTok if I'm like, oh, this bush I see in like Estonia with like the certain flowers or something. This is where I get called hacks. So, but it is helpful.
Yeah, I
Like
mean
northern trees, like if you like a tree like like trees, I would say is probably the first part of like the vibes. Like I was about to put vibes in one of these categories, but like that's really like basically a lot of these combined basically equal vibes. I think trees and flowers is like the first step to like when people start talking about vibes.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
Um,
Paraná pines and Kaido cabbage, like those specific plants can really help you out.
yeah.
Southern pines in the US.
It doesn't get you a specific country, but it gives you like an area, kind of like like northern or southern, which is very helpful. What's your thought on trees and flowers?
I
I'm
think
like,
it's helpful. I mean, it's certainly something not something you can teach. It's only something you can really
true.
differentiate after playing a bunch. Looking at the Irish hedges and the UK hedges on the side of the road.
Yeah, I would agree that
Uh,
tree. This is probably the start of you step away from studying, and this is like experience comes in as trees and flowers. This could also be A tier. I feel like we might get a lot of A tiers.
yep.
So I don't know, but
Yeah, I'm okay with AT.
we can put it mid, low A.
Sure.
So we have roads and road lines.
Specifically road markings, like the paint they put on the road to make sure you're not drifting in and out of lanes.
Yes. Yeah,
Yep.
road markings and then like the quality of roads.
Quality of roads, okay.
Yes, or like the cement block roads you see in like Philippines and stuff like that.
Got it. Yeah. Yellow outside lines, yellow inside lines, long Norwegian dashes, short Swedish dashes.
Yeah, there's a few road lines that are complete giveaways. Is there anything besides like Norway, Sweden, Australia, maybe like Greece that are like complete country giveaways? I guess even Sweden. It's not a complete giveaway for Sweden because there are dash lines outside of Sweden. Like it's really like the road lines, and then once you get the road lines, you then look at like the trees and the dirt and stuff, and then that's really where the power comes in. The road lines is like an immediate continent finder, which is really nice. I don't know if
Yeah.
it's a super country finder specifically. I guess Denmark actually does have it too. This one is either going to be, for me, either if it was just road lines, it's either going to be, I think B is okay because I think it's the power of like, it's finding the continent, not many specific countries.
Yeah, it's super helpful in the beginning, eliminating that South Africa, Australia 50-50.
Yeah.
South Africa has yellow outside lines. Australia basically doesn't have any yellow lines. But once you kind of get over the hump where you're not that's no longer a 50-50. Road lines aren't that useful.
Yeah, I think B is really good. Metas.
Oh, the
You know how I feel
controversy.
about metas.
Controversy.
Do we even need to talk about the controversy? What's the controversy?
Well, the controversy is people play with car blocker because they
Yeah.
say in the purest form of the game, if you're dropped in that location, you're not going to see car meta, camera meta in real life. So it's
Mm-hmm.
not the purest form of GeoGuessr. It's a
Yeah.
little end around
Well, I'm
the.
not I'm not a pure-hearted soul, Toro. So this bad boy is going number one S tier.
I can
Would
see
you
it.
would you agree?
Yeah, I don't play with the car blocker either, and it's something that is part of the
E-
game. It's
Even if
helpful.
there was a car blocker, it's still S tier because there's camera generations, there's rifts in the sky,
Low
I don't know,
cam,
low
yeah,
cam. Like there's so many of that. That's so helpful.
right.
So it's definitely going S tier.
Yeah, I hope it goes away. I hope every country
I
gets
do
Gen
too.
4 and we don't have to worry about it anymore. But right
Yeah.
now, as the game currently stands, I would agree it's S tier.
Awesome. Houses and buildings. I would think this is probably, again, either A or B. You don't see houses all the time. I guess I'm not incredibly knowledgeable on houses and buildings, but for me, it gives me like, I can pretty much tell like a France house, UK, and Ireland. But then like Eastern Europe, I'm kind of just like, oh, this feels like this area. Like the Baltics, houses are really important because you can easily tell a Baltic house.
Brick buildings are really confusing to me because you can see them in Denmark and Netherlands and Belgium, but it's kind of one
Yeah.
of those three if
Yeah.
the buildings are made of brick.
And also the brick buildings in South America,
Yeah,
like Bolivia,
Bolivian
Peru,
bricks. Yeah.
Colombia. So I think it's really good at finding the region in a continent, but there's just some houses that have it in a different country.
Yep.
Are there any buildings besides houses that like are giveaways?
Alok produced a video where he's like, okay, Japan, if you see flat roofs, you're probably in the southern part of the country where it doesn't snow as much. Whereas if you see peaked roofs, you're probably in the northern part. So little tips and tricks like that have been helpful within countries. So yeah, I
Okay.
mean, buildings are helpful. I don't think it's end all be all for sure.
Okay. I think low A, high B. What do you think?
Yeah, probably B.
Okay. Flags. Basically telling you the answer 99% of the time. Sometimes they do trap you, but if you know your flags, which is it's pretty easy to learn,
Certainly for
you got the
official
answer.
coverage countries, I've never really taken this step to learn all the unofficial coverage countries.
Yeah.
And official coverage countries, there aren't that many flags to really learn. A lot of countries don't have as much pride as some other countries. So you
Yeah.
see,
Like if you like Indonesia has it has
yeah,
them everywhere. So it's a really
exactly.
easy for Indo-Malay
And
50-50.
it doesn't even need to be a piece of cloth. They paint the colors on
I was
the
just about to say that, yeah.
poles and everything. Yeah.
But they're just kind of rare in my opinion. So I don't think A. I would think probably B is pretty perfect for this as well.
Yep. Yeah. It's rural rounds, they're not helpful at all.
Probably lowest of B. The flags was probably like the first thing I actually studied for Geoguessr. Just like a freebie if you know your flags. Dirt and grass.
Ooh, red dirt countries. I'm still waiting for somebody to make that definitive video.
I
Um,
made my TikTok that I uploaded. Like the number one comment is I think it was something like he said red dirt Brazil or something. He's definitely cheating or something like that. I was like, but there's red dirt in Brazil and it looks Brazilian. Is this like the dirt is just underrated, man.
yeah,
Dirt
for
and
sure.
grass are super underrated.
Yep.
I like the Spanish grass, like that golden grass.
Eswatini grass.
Eswatini with the long grass, and
Yeah.
then like New Zealand. Also, just like the lack of grass from Botswana and stuff like that.
Surgut sand in Russia, usually helpful for that area of the country. And yeah, whenever you see sand on the road, on the side of the road in the US, you're probably coastal.
Yeah,
I would say sand and dirt underrated.
I would put this either high A, maybe low S. I don't know.
I don't know if I'm willing to put it in S. I can get behind an A.
Okay.
It's
Yeah,
just dirt
I'm
after
more
all.
A anyways. We'll put it next to the trees. All right. This is good. I like how this is kind of formulating right now. Domain names. Do you know this domain?
Serbia.
It's good old Serbia. Basically a freebie. It like basically tells you the answer unless you're in a truck or like you're in a moving vehicle, then you have to be careful. But if you're
Yeah,
on a
those
sign, it's a dead giveaway. It's it's easier than flags to learn. I would say it's a lot more rare than flags.
for sure. And a lot of businesses in random countries are just .com, and it's not helpful.
True. I totally forgot about that. Yeah. So for me, this is either C or B. It does tell you the answer 95% of the time, but it is I maybe like once out of every 50 rounds I kind of get something like that if I'm not moving, but
Yeah, if you're not moving. If you're moving, you're
I
kind
guess
of
if
on
you're
the hunt for domains for sure.
but at the same time if you're good enough, you really don't even need domains. You know, it's almost like you only look at domains if you're not moving and you don't really know where you are. But if you're moving a lot, you're like, okay, I don't need a domain at this point.
Yep. Yeah. I
So,
think it's like flags. It's probably
okay,
very helpful but seldom seen.
I agree. Low B. Utility pole. How are you with your utility poles?
I'm pretty good. I'm getting a lot better. Waffle poles in Brazil, it's a dead giveaway. Portuguese poles look very different. Holy poles in Poland, Hungary, Romania.
I think, and I also think that there's a lot more poles that me and you don't know about. I think there's like
For
the
sure.
common ones that we all know, and then there's like some really specific ones, which if you really study it, it will actually probably give you like maybe the specific country. But I think almost most GeoGuessr players have like the really good understanding of like holy poles, octagonal poles, which are very common. They also are kind of like your saving grace if you're kind of in the middle of nowhere, like in Brazil, for example. But then you see like a waffle pole in the distance, and you're like, oh, okay, now this is definitely Brazil. So it does save you a lot.
Yeah.
I would say if you are, for me, this would be, for my skill level, it would be like a B, since it really does, it gets me like, I'd say I know like, you know, like 10 to maybe 15 utility poles. I don't know, maybe somewhere around 10. But I'm sure with a really, really good player, they could probably get the country a lot more often. I
Yeah,
think
or
either
even within the country, like Australian states each have different
true,
utility poles, and that's a bear of a country to try to guess.
true.
I'd say A.
I agree.
Utility poles are super important.
I would agree. All right. I like this. It's like the perfect uniform. What's it called? Distribution.
Normal
The
distribution. Yeah.
perfect normal distribution. This is perfect. Unplanned. All right. Good job, Toro.
Good job, Brett.